Tired of being cramped in an economy seat when flying, and have you been dreaming about a more luxurious experience on your next flight? Well, you don't have to dream anymore. In today's video, we'll take a look at how to use your points and miles to make your next flight a lot more comfortable. My promise to you is twofold. Number one, we're going to be looking at points usage between 63,000 points and 75,000 points. Number two, each of these redemptions will be above 2 cents per point. Let's start with the first example, which is going to be with SkyTeam and specifically Flying Blue. KLM website, which is a part of Flying Blue, and I'm signed into my account. I'm going to take a look at book with miles, one way from New York to Copenhagen. And the tentative date I'm going to choose is going to be around the 26th of January. And I'm going to move this to business class and say search. So as you can see, I have a few options here. One is the flight leaving at 4:50 from New York Airport, and the other one is the flight leaving from JFK at 4:30 p.m. And both of these flights are available for 90,000 points. And if you open these up, you'll be able to see that the taxes and fees are about $237, which is slightly on the higher side. Now, what I want to do is I want to find what the retail price of this flight is on Google Flights. So I go to one way, I choose business class, I choose New York City, and I choose Copenhagen on the 26th of January, and I say search. What I can do to filter through the options here is to choose SkyTeam only, because then that will give me the ones that I want to take a look at. So this is the flight that we have been looking at, and as you can see, the retail price for this flight is about $5,969. So if we did the cent per point calculation, 5,969 minus $238, which is the taxes and fees, comes out to about 5,731. Now I should divide this by 90,000 points, which gives me a cent per point valuation, which is very healthy of 6.36, but we can do even better. Currently, Chase is running a transfer bonus offer to Flying Blue of 20%. So the actual points required for this redemption will be 90,000 divided by 1.2, which is about 75,000 points. So if we go back to our cent per point calculation, it'll be 5,969 minus 238 divided by 75,000, which yields a cent per point valuation of about 7.6. Bear in mind that this particular reward booking has a transfer time of about 1.5 hours at the Paris airport. Let's move on to the second example, which is going to be with Star Alliance. As you can see, I'm signed into my Aeroplan account, which you need to be in case you're looking for reward availability. I'm looking for flights one way, New York to Delhi on the 13th of May, and I've selected book with Aeroplan points. I've done some research separately to figure out where the award availability sits. If that's a part of the process you want more insight into, let me know in the comments below. But for now, let's say search. It'll give you this disclaimer. And another thing I want to point out about the Aeroplan site currently is that I wasn't able to look for the award availability on the normal Chrome browser. I had to open up an incognito window, and that's where I'm doing this search. If I sort this by the points required to do business class booking, you can see that there is a flight available that's operated by Air India. And if you look at the details, you will see that these are the new A350s, which have better business class seats than the previous 777s, which had horrendous seats. Now again, you'll see that the points required to make this booking is about 90,000 points and 79 Canadian dollars. That translates to about 55 US dollars. So let's take a look at what the retail prices for this ticket might be. If you look at New York City, Delhi, on the 13th, and I do business class, say search, and as far as the airline is concerned, I'm going to select Star Alliance, and here are the few options. I'm going to go back and check what flight this is. This is the one that leaves at 11:55. So if I look at this, the retail price of this ticket is about $1,907. If we did the cent per point calculation, that's 1907 minus 55 divided by 90,000 points. So it yields a cent per point value of about 2, but we can do better. Chase is also running a transfer bonus offer to Aeroplan currently of 20%. So the actual points required for this booking is going to be 75,000 points, similar to the last case. And so if we did the cent per point calculation again, we go 1907 minus 55 divided by 75,000 points, and that gives us a cent per point valuation of about 2.5. And now it's time for the third example, which is going to be with One World Alliance. We're going to be looking at Cathay Pacific here, which is a part of the One World Alliance. And as you can see, as always, I'm signed into my account to be able to look at award availability. Here you have to select redeem flights, and New York to London Heathrow is what I'm looking at, one way, business class. and I'm looking at the 8th of March as the tentative date. I click on redeem flights. You can see there's some availability across multiple dates here, and you can see there are plenty of flights that British Airways flies for about 63,000 points. Now, if I look at the flight details, the flight's actually operated by British Airways, as you can see, and this is the Boeing 777. Now, these are not the best business class seats up in the air, but if you're flying overnight and you can get a good night's sleep, it may be worth it for you. The only problem I have with this award availability is the amount of taxes and fees you would be charged. That number translates to about $222 US. I'm going to go back to Google Flights, look at flights from New York to London Heathrow on the 8th of March, like we did. Say select, and then when I say search, I'm going to select airlines and I'm going to select one word. So it should show me, if I go back and check what particular flight we were looking at the one that leaves JFK at about 6:30. So if I look at the flight that leaves JFK at 6:30, it's about $2,033. Now let's get back to the cent per point calculation. 2,033 minus 222 is about $1,811 divided by the 63,000 points you need to make this booking. Turns out to a cent per point valuation of 2.8. The good thing about Cathay Pacific miles is that you can easily transfer them from Amex as well as Chase. If your points and miles sitting in transferable currencies, remember, life is too short, so go ahead and treat yourself. If you have examples of how you've redeemed points and miles yourself, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.